I promise that this is not going to be a very onerous workshop. This one is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to talk about things like food and clothing and colors and tradition. Now, you all might recall that last week in the workshop, we created a setting and then we discussed it. We conceptualized who are the people that live here, what have been their recent events or their lives that would play into the celebrations that they have. And we reviewed some autumnal holidays here in our real world, which are can be religious, civic, historical, even commercial holidays. And I want to go over a couple other concepts of traditions, especially manifested through food, because food is wonderfully seasonal and does speak about the people who created the holiday, the people who over time developed the traditions and ascribed certain powers or respects or even taboos that would take place during these observant or festive times. So this is a very simple website. It has a couple examples like what we saw from the holidays, the autumn holidays around the world. No matter where you are in the world, food is an important part of holiday celebrations. From potato cakes to fish, cookies to hot chocolate, here's 11 traditional holiday dishes from around the world. Latkes. A potato cake fried until it's golden and crispy. It's a traditional food served during the Jewish celebration of Hanukkah. As Hanukkah celebrates the miracle of one night's worth of oil lasting for 8 nights, many of the foods eaten during Hanukkah are fried. In addition to latkes, sometimes served with applesauce or another sweet topping, sufganiyot, which is a fried jelly donut, and brisket are often served as well. In England, you have mince pies. England has enjoyed mince pies during the holidays since the 13th century. Fighters returning from the Crusades brought back new exotic spices like nutmeg and cinnamon, and British cooks used them in an assortment of dishes like pies filled with mincemeat and dried fruit. Sicily, fish. Christmas throughout Sicily and southern Italy means the Feast of the Seven Fishes. Traditionally, Roman Catholics fast on Christmas Eve, so a feast of 7 or more seafood dishes at the end is a celebration of the area's plentiful seafood bounty. Now, just stopping here with these 3, have we already explored where region, the geography of a place is important, as well as cultural elements? And religion is very much a part of a culture of a people. In just these. Sugar Plum says Black Phoenix Alchemy Labs puts out Sufganiyot perfume each year. I bet it smells very delicious. In France, there's the Bûche de Noël. The Bûche de Noël is the French version of the Yule log. It is a rich cake filled and rolled to look like a log and is often decorated with meringue shaped into mushrooms or other small treats to make it look as though it were found on the forest floor. It is typically served after Christmas Eve midnight mass. In Greece, Melomakarona. Christmas is a major affair in Greece. Many Greeks fast before the holidays, and when Christmas Day arrives, they go all out. One traditional dish served is mellow macarona, a sweet honey-soaked cookie topped with ground walnuts. It is eaten on Christmas Day once fast is broken. Oh, very much so, ready to nap. I mean, just with, so the Crusades and other wars, as people would go out into other places or back to their homes from other places, they would bring back knowledge, ingredients, even tools that could help them prepare things more better. And I mean, if you look at England, or even just the British Isles, with all the Nord invasions, like the Vikings and such, the Normans or the French, the Gaul. Yeah, the Isles were a hotly contested place, and a lot of a mix of ingredients and cultures and everything is a part of what made up that area. And then, through expansion around the world, as ships improved and technology improved and everything, so it was then sort of everyone in, everyone out, and things come back in, and so you had this source. And then, of course, just right across the English Strait, with France being, making itself into a culinary capital of the world, being a lot more mainland, and so close to Spain, which it has its own history through Catholicism, and through Moorish rule under Islam. So it's sort of a gateway to North Africa as well. And then you have all of the like the Germanic the Germanic barbarians or whatnot, from North and Central. But if you stuck close to the to the Mediterranean, you'd go back down to Italy. A lot of food there, of course, a big religious cultural center. And if you have a universal church, the Catholic Church, located there, who are sending doctrine and scripture all around the world, and then, of course, the people who were disseminating that would come back to Vatican City with, so these are what the people are doing. A very good example of this was a monastery I visited when I was in Peru as part of my master's program. And at that monastery was a painting of the Last Supper. However, the Last Supper, one of the dishes prepared was guinea pig. And you might go, why is guinea pig being served at the Last Supper? I don't think guinea pigs are native to the Middle East, to that region, like the Fertile Crescent and everything, where a lot of us as humans and history and culture might have began. And that's because for the priests and the friars and the the explorers and conquistadors and everyone who went over, as they made contact with the natives there, eating guinea pig was no big deal. However, it was seen as something that was for special occasions. Well, what could be more of a special occasion than the Last Supper? So to convey tenets of Catholicism and the importance of this scene to the natives of the land, the people of the monastery put their local dish, guinea pig, into the mural of the Last Supper, so that as the locals, as the natives would go to this place, they could look at that and say, they're eating guinea pig. I get it. This is an important meal. And Diadems, thank you very much for the cheer. And so we can see, again, where region and culture are major influences, and of course, the season, because not all foods are available at certain times of year. Also, Obsidian Cyrix, heck yeah, coming in strong with that raid. Thank you very much. Obsidian, welcome. And one of our mods should be able to give you a shout out here in a moment. So in Poland, we have babka. Bread is an essential part of the holiday season in Poland. One of the traditional bread dishes served is babka, a sweet bread, which is often broken on Christmas Eve following a fast. Polish families also set out an extra place setting for the lone wanderer who may pass through. Their Christmas meals are usually meatless and consist of staples like beet soup, boiled potatoes, and herring with sour cream. Root crop, easy to preserve, over the course of the winter. Easy to preserve, easy to prepare. It's good for the winter time, especially in a northern climate. Although, reading about Poland, do any of you eat paczkis around Mardi Gras time? Around Lent? Have any of you ever had a paczki? Though it's pronounced that way. They're spelled they have some accent marks on it, but P-A-C-Z-I, I believe. But if I'm not mistaken, they're pronounced paczkis. They're kind of like the jelly-filled donuts talked about above here. The Sufgana yachts. In Sweden, they have saffron buns. Sweden and other Scandinavian countries celebrate St. Lucia's Day on December 13th, so it is an autumn holiday. According to tradition, the oldest daughter dresses in a white gown with a red sash and a crown of lit candles, then wakes her parents with coffee and saffron buns. Now, I'm sure there's more to this story, but even just that blurb, doesn't that make you go, there's got to be a reason for that? This is a tradition for a reason. And what is it observing? What is it recreating? What is the cultural significance to it, right? Oh, Iron Chef, you used to make paczkis all the time. Did you go the classic prune filling? Or did you do something just like Bavarian cream or some sort of a jam? Peru, speaking of Peru, spiced hot chocolate. Spiced hot chocolate is a Christmas tradition in Peru. Churches throughout the country take donations to make large quantities of it, and also accept donations on panettone, an Italian holiday bread. I think I almost said like panettone, which is the colors you use to make t-shirts. Forgive me, artists and culinarians. The bread and hot chocolate is served to those less fortunate in the weeks leading up to Christmas. You go prunes? All right, Iron Chef. Goblin Town says it's big around Chicago every year. The paczkis are. United Kingdom, a Christmas pudding. Christmas pudding, plum pudding, is one of the most popular traditional holiday dishes in the United Kingdom. Families have their own recipes for it, but they are typically made with dried fruit and spices, held together with eggs and suet. Some families bake a coin into their pudding, and whoever finds it will have luck in the new year. Kitty Bird the Shiny, if you're still with us, do you have a family recipe? Do you have a way that you can share your Christmas pudding? This kind of reminds me also of the you find them down in New Orleans. It's the cakes with the little babies, the little baby Jesus baked into it, if I recall. What's the name of those? I need your all's help. What are the little cakes with the babies baked into them? And Hans Half-Elven, hello and welcome to you. Yeah, hey, thank you for leaving some love and lurk. Raven, can I get a shout out to Hans Half-Elven, please? That's right, the king cake, the all kings cake. Thank you. You know, although in this case, oh hi. Are you going to behave this time, ma'am? I believe you if you say yes. I'll also be creeped out because you shouldn't be able to pronounce those letters. In Japan, the Christmas Eve dinner of choice is KFC, the American chicken chain restaurant. The tradition began in the 1970s with an ad campaign and grew in popularity from there. The Japanese now order their Christmas chicken weeks in advance and can also grab cake and champagne when they pick up their orders. And then in Denmark and Norway, there's kransekake. Both the Danish and the Norwegians serve kransekake over the holidays. Translated into wreath cake, the almond-flavored cake is formed into a Christmas tree with as many as 18 layers or more. It requires specialty cake pans to create. Yep, she's a baby. But we definitely have cat butt. And it's not an official broadcast without cat butt, so I guess we made it, everyone. We're official. So you can see the importance of you can see the importance of region and what's available in the season and what are values that people hold. Because to some, you might go, like, it almost might be an expression of exasperation. Oh, baby Jesus in a cake, you know, and then like something tragic after that. Others are gonna go, yes, baby Jesus in a cake. This is excellent. Like, this is what we want. Like, this is a celebration. It's not something to clutch your pearls and be upset over. And by understanding how we come up with our holidays, where they come from, why they come from, and what happens during them, we can extrapolate this information over into the holidays that we make. The cat asterisk of authenticity. Yeah, who needs a watermark when you can just get cat hair? Because I'll tell you, cat hair is more indelible because it'll just work its way into everything, and it can never be removed. It can never be scrubbed from a program. It can never come out of physical objects. If you have cat hair, that is a seal, that is a watermark. It is there forever. Seasonal cat butt, says Ready to Nap. Insulation of the universe. Grogrin says a lot of Catholicism takes in different aspects of different cultures in general. Here in New Zealand, Christmas is during the summer, so often Christmas dinner is cooked and prepared the night before with things like ham, then served around noon. And Grogrin, that was something that I tried to reflect. If we go back here so those are the coloring book pages. If we go to seasonal art, with the cards that I made last year, we had our concept of understanding as a community pillar. Understanding was upside down as a fun nod to those of you who live in the Southern Hemisphere, because this time of year, you're going to the beach. You know, things are in full bloom. You know, summer has begun. And of course, if there's those of you who are in, equatorial climates or just the southern U.S., Florida, Texas, etc., or Hawaii, Mele Kaliki Maka to you when it's that time. So I tried to look at some things that people in the Southern Hemisphere were enjoying around this time of year, so that we can get an understanding of, like, oh, we go like the warm and or the warm indulgent foods, and yet it's a different availability of food. It's definitely a different, same holiday, different season. The availability of that food might be limited in other ways. And so here we went with a nice cold fruit salad and a nice chilled shrimp cocktail as something cold to eat during this time of year. And so, Grogrin, I hope in this reflection here that I wanted to give a nod and to incorporate that understanding of there's a lot that we can enjoy together, though we might have different ways of enjoying the same idea. So, if I nailed it, I nailed it, and if I missed it, Grogrin, I need you and the other people down in New Zealand and Australia to go, yeah, no, and offer a correction. But I did try and do some homework on it, and just as a show of joy and appreciation. Ready to Nap says, hey, Manny Matt, gotta go eat some foods. I finished cooking just now. I hope that they're delicious and fulfilling to you. Ready? So go do what you gotta do. And we'll see you around next time, unless you're gonna come back afterwards. In which case, I'll see you in a little bit. So, what I want to do here with you all, and Delport, you had a ton of ideas as we were personifying the holidays and comparing them to, or just coming up with those ideas. And I hope I didn't seem standoffish, but you all had great ideas, and I'm like, yes, hold on to them. This is a workshop. We will do this, I promise. And so this is what I wanted to put forward. Made us a great dinner. Good chatting with you. We love you. No, it's fine. I get it. A lot of people's autocorrects into that, Sugar Plum. But be well, and we'll see you again, whether it's in a little bit or a lot of bit. I just won't have none of it. So I want your all's help. I'm going to go over the information that we have and also was saved, because the NPC we created, I don't believe... Yep. Now, it is recorded for posterity, though, interestingly enough, the NPC we made was almost a reflection or an alter ego of the villain we made as the personification for an autumnal holiday. Now, in this area, we rolled that this was mountainous, or it had a mountain, and it was coastal. But this also could have been it was on the shore of a Great Lake. I know a little bit about that. Or being along a great river of some kind, or amongst the fjords. If we want to go Nordic in a concept. However, nothing's keeping mountain and coastal from being something more equatorial. Mountain and coast could very well describe Hawaii. It is mountainous, and if it's not coastal, I don't know what to tell you. It's nothing but coast. Yeah, so an island caldera, some kind of a... So there's I think there's a specific name for that, Delport. It's not just an archipelago, but it is a series of islands around a sunken crater. And it's not lagoon, but I think there's a specific term. I get what you're saying, because I have the same thing in mind. But it could just be an island chain that was the rim of a volcano. Why not? It could be that. This place is ruled by a militocracy. So there's a sense of martial law. Whoever runs the military is the one who's in charge. Society might be growing up militaristically, where everyone serves, or if you aren't, or maybe like citizenship is granted by being in the military, but you can live as a non-citizen and do other things, but you don't have particular rights or responsibilities. There's a lot we can do with that here. There is a sealed pyramid of some kind in this location as a notable monument, as well as an intact statue of a person, and either in part or in whole, there is a dead magic zone here. And so something happened. And in the theory crafting, it could have been that's what actually banished the god from trying to take this place over, or whatever had awakened might have been resealed back in the pyramid, and everyone had to lose magic in order to keep the magical entity sealed inside. Maybe. It is consisted of gnomes and dwarves, where the racial majority are conquerors. So the gnomes are conquerors, either militaristically or economically. The ruler's status, so the gnomes are making some kind of a mysterious anonymous cabal. This place is a major trade center, so we might see a lot of spices or things that don't normally grow here that are brought in. This place could be on the way to another continent. It could be on a major stopping point. It could be like a refueling point, like Obsidian Cyrex. If you're still here, this place could be kind of like a Bermuda, which is like a restocking, refueling point. Between North America and Europe. This place is known for a great hero. Yeah, exactly, Grogrin. And the current calamity, an important figure died, and murder is suspected. And you might go, well, all right, so the current calamity, what does it have to do on a 100-year-old tradition? Well, if we're talking about something like a prophecy that's coming to light, you might go, a prophecy? Where are we getting a prophecy? Well, let me tell you a little something about It Writes Itself, about iwi, which is a phenomena that we experience in our workshop quite frequently. Because the weakness of our villainous holiday personification is an ancient prophecy reveals how the villain can be overthrown. Delport says maybe a northern island nation like Iceland with a major volcano creating warmth in the center, so there's a forest in the middle. Perhaps the deity used magic and offers it to converts, so the lack of magic is a rejection of the influence. It could be this. So Delport, if we go with that idea, what if it's something where the latent magic is actually harvested? Because we have some technological people, through the gnomes and the dwarves. What if there's just a lot of geothermal or magically aided geothermal activity, where the magic is siphoned off in order to allow everyone to stay warm, because the magic is sort of piped everywhere. Like it would be like a natural gas, except this is just magic manifest. And so there could just be a central company. That could even be the gnomes, right? If we look at the gnomes, they have a magic resistance built into them. They are inventors and tinkerers and all these things similar to what dwarves can be. But they might have this ability to control and manipulate magic better. And so if they came in with this technology, or this, magitech or whatever, that could have been how they conquered the dwarves, who might very well have laid the foundation for everything, but they could only do so much with the geothermal that was available to them. And by the way, I'm sure the dwarves love a good sauna. And so the reason why magic is depleted, maybe dwarves never used magic all that much. The gnomes came in, harvested it, and were able to expand comfort and other such things to the people of this place. And so that was kind of the takeover. It was an economic or a cultural takeover. The gnomes never really wanted the military per se, but the military would grow to rely on what the gnomes could do for them. And so the gnomes are everywhere, and more of them moved in because it was just such a financial gain for them. If the dwarves were the ones that were digging up the gold and the gems and the other precious, if not gemstones, then just the prime stone for building things, for building the forts and houses, to have the stone insulating things, to run the pipes through the walls in order to help keep houses warm. It could very well be something like that. Perhaps the deity used magic and offered it to Oh, yeah, so there was that. Interesting. Great hero has to be some person of great military power for that society to grow up as a militocracy, possibly. And this is why I'm sorry that when I had to reset the computer before broadcasting, I lost the NPC sheet because Word did not autosave it. It autosaved the others, and I am glad for that. But until I can recreate it by going back in the video, our villain inspiration was a reflection of the NPC we made, because from what I understand, it was also a young adult female half-elf who was an arcane trickster, and she was a guild merchant specifically regarding masonry and stone cutting. So it writes itself. She had some different traits, but ultimately this could have been the same person, or whoever these half-elves are, or whatever our concept of half-elf is. Is it half-elf, half-dwarf? Half-elf, half-gnome? Do humans exist? And are elves actually a thing in this setting? Or are elves their concept of an angel or a celestial? Long-lived, like even longer than they are lived. Long-lived, very fair people, with, well, depending if the gnomes have pointed ears or not, but they might have long pointy ears or something. And so in this case, this could have been, these could have been messengers of the elves, who are a mythical race, let alone one that might actually exist and be trading partners. But we actually, through Iwi, it writes itself, through the random rolls, we had this villainous inspiration, and we had an NPC who was also an evil female young adult half-elf, who was an arcane trickster, and someone who sold stone cutting tools and masonry tools as a guild merchant. Maybe there are questions of a dwarven role in society, and the general had strong feelings on the matter in either direction. Well, and how that could play into the holiday, it could be a time of choice or decision. It could be a time where, despite when you were born, it's a coming of age point in time, because there are in the autumn a couple New Years that are observed. We have Samhain, which is a pagan New Year, and we have Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and both of those are autumnal. It is a time of resetting or advancing to the next stage. And I can see something that could be a coming of age ceremony. It could be a time of promotion, where, if not coming of age as a individual, Everyone who's going through this, this militocracy, this is promotion day. And Delport, you had some ideas as well, because we were going to talk about things like common symbols, colors, traditions, and decorations. What are some sayings or songs? What is an aspect of this holiday that we can glean from having these two half-elves exist in this world of dwarves and gnomes? And if this was a sort of an alien visitor, a cosmic being as an elf, maybe it's something that was sealed away in the pyramid. It was let out in a conflict. And well, there we go. In fact, what if the whole city is actually powered by this being that is sealed in the pyramid? Because look, let's be real, everyone. What is radiant damage? What is radiant energy? Here's a clue, it's radiation. That's why it can burn things without setting it on fire. But it might also set it on fire too. And so we might have a sense, this thing that is inside this pyramid, and it is being tapped for its magic. And in so doing, there is no latent magic. But maybe this being here is seen, even retroactively, as a good person or a bad person, be you a gnome or a dwarf, or was seen as a meddler, and is now just actually something useful. And if we come back to the setting, maybe the same intact statue of a person is the great hero who contained this thing inside the pyramid, and is now its radiance is a commodity that is helping this island nation to flourish and grow and to become able to defend itself against other militaries and navies, even against nature itself. So yeah, they don't have magic, but they have the ability to control their climate, through heat or even maybe cooling. They've turned magic into technology. It almost even might be a quasi explanation for how this place is steampunk. Where steam can magically do all this, stuff. Maybe that's the source of it. It's a flooded pyramid, and they have their nuclear reactor in the water, and it's pumping out steam to keep everyone's houses warm and to power the engines of war and commerce. How about that from a bunch of random rolls in a workshop? The pointier the ears, the more magical you are. Dwarves having round ears have no access to magic. In this world, that could be Grogrin. In fact, having a pointed ear, there's a medical name for that in our real world. If someone has pointed ear tips, and I forget the name of it, but there's actually a medical term for it. But that actually could be a sign of like how attuned you are. All right, so this is so there's something like pixie ears or elf ears in concept, but I mean it's actually called it's I think it's named after someone. It's like the so and so ear, which is probably whoever was first discovered to have this, like a recording of this ear shape, and so it was named after him. So I'm sure there's plenty of colloquial terms, but there's actually like a medical, if you're born with this or you develop it, they say, oh, you have so-and-so ear. So if any of you in chat know, let me know, please, because the name is escaping me. I was going to say something like Raynaud's, but I think that's hearing. That's not the shape of the ear. Stall's ear. All right. Well, then there we go, everyone. That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. Stall's ear. But stalls in the Zelda games are skeletons. They don't have ears. What's the deal with that? Yes, there we go. Stall's ear. Boy, this yellow shirt is absolutely just baffling my green screen tonight. All right. These are the prompts, and you know what? Whether or not this is what's locked in, we have these ideas. We have what's here. So, everyone, if you are seeing things up here that is, is this a victory over a cosmic being, a foreign invader that ended up unifying the gnomes and the dwarves? Because maybe in the mainland there are these elves, and they tried to come over, and maybe the dwarves and the gnomes thought that they were being manipulated or something happened after a while. It could be civic, it could be civic, it could be historical, which is military. Now, we do also have the main religion is a temple to a false god. In this case, this could be the thrown down celestial that is being harvested for magic, for nuclear steam power or something. Or the worshiping of a false god could be the industry that has grown up. It could just simply be, the temple is an industrial museum, or it is the new worship of engineering, where the faith is hoping something works, but trying to get that next thing developed or created or out into society. And so in that case, it is a religion of artifice more than it is one of nature. Or it's one that values commercialism, because we might have kind of a Ferengi society here, where they get along, but that's because the money keeps flowing, as do the ideas and the resources that they're taking and harvesting to allow for such growth in an otherwise inhospitable area. There could be rules. There could be rules of acquisition that these people have. And by the way, there's nothing saying if you want gnomes that are Ferengi, you want to give them great big ears and pointy teeth. I would urge you all in your D&D games to turn your gnomes into Ferengi, because why not? So let's go over these prompts. Let's think about it. Throw some ideas out there. It sounds... this is the direction I was getting. There is a war. There's a hero that stepped up. This half-elf character is an intrinsic part of this, if not a celebration or victory, a remembrance of something that had happened. And so it is still an observation, if not a celebration. Because maybe there's an observation first and then a celebration later. It's somewhat similar. I want to be careful in presentation. Memorial Day is different than Veterans Day. Memorial Day is a lot more somber because it is the remembering the dead. Veterans Day can be somber, but it is a remembering of those who are still with us and are serving. And yeah, thankfulness, or you can even argue a celebration. Although I know there's many people who use Memorial Day that's the first day of barbecue season. You have a party on your porch, or you go and buy a new mattress because every Memorial Day is a mattress sale day or something. So there's that. But and it's not that people can't also be contemplative or somber on Veterans Day. Imagining anything that's going on. But so that seems to be the direction from everything that we had rolled. And so with this, and remembering things, Delport, you said something like the bracelets, because the bracelets were a part of the NPC that we made about the guild artisan NPC. If you remember that, I do, because I'm like, that was really, you described it very well, Delport. With as everyone walks around with the bracelets, it creates like a click clack, like a lot more boots are stomping on the streets as people are going back and forth. And maybe it's supposed to put you back in that time when everyone was on high alert and everyone was serving in the military. Maybe that's how the militocracy was born. everyone had to serve to survive. And now things are better, but I mean, as there's more of a clampdown, unless you have some sort of a revolution, you don't tend to get those things back that are taken from you. I will keep the commentary to clearly we're talking about Minecraft or this fantasy world. But usually if a government takes something from you, you don't get it back. And in this case, the compelled military service continues even after this time that bore this holiday. I appreciate being remembered. I like throwing out any idea that comes into my head in case someone else takes it and runs with it. Yeah, and hey, it did. It stuck in my noggin. I don't know if we have a name for this yet, although if a name comes to any of you, let's go through this. What are some shout outs? What are some things that we can use to develop this? Because look, this description, the songs people hear, the colors they see, the foods that they smell, or otherwise. I mean, hey, look, if it's rainy season and the sewers back up, that is a seasonal smell as well. You know? Maybe there was a war historically with the gnomes and dwarves on one side and the elves on the other, and it went on for a long time. Not a short, fast war, but a series of protracted conflicts. And eventually peace came when the half-elf, half-gnome, I think, population sided against the elves. Maybe the heroic figure was the popular voice among the half-elves, who actually decided... Oh, yeah, there was something like that, where one of them was actually a tipping balance. Maybe even against the other, if they weren't the same person, or necessarily related themselves, or twins or something. Which, look, if you want to do that, it is a trope, like, okay, it's twins, got it, you know, I see where this is going. It can be. It's not like twins haven't been significant in our own history at certain points. I mean, I'll bring up Romulus and Remus. Although, shouldn't it have been Romulus and Vulcan? I mean, no, that's just me. So the point of the holiday seems to be to remember the end of the war, of the Great War, that fused Dwarven and Gnomish society in their fight against the elves. And is this foreigners or actual like alien invaders? We can still make notes like this. The statue can be anyone we want. The statue doesn't even have to be of the person that we made, Delport. We just know that there is a statue and that there is a great hero. Is a holiday specifically related to the great hero? I don't know. What tells a good story? Because ultimately that's what we're trying to do. We want to build a cohesive world that has these original concepts that are still very organic and not just a bunch of forced, like, oh, this is so different because it is so different, right, guys? So what we know, Delport, there is a sealed pyramid. We also know that there is an intact statue to someone. Not to a god, but to a person. We know that there's a dead magic zone. We know that an NPC personification was a guild merchant for stone cutting and masonry, was also a young adult female half-elf, arcane trickster. That and unfortunately I lost the other details, so shame on me for that. And that a villainous holiday personification is a young adult female half-elf who is a battle master fighter and a spy. We have 5 different points, and how they connect, comma, if they connect, comma, is up to us to decide. Maybe not everything is used. Or if it's used, we might say the statue is not the NPC or the villainous personification. It's actually just the general of the dwarves who put forth the militocracy. Has nothing to do with the holiday, though we can make an entry about the statue for the holiday, because every year at this time, people, people paint it the color of what next year's uniforms are going to be. If this is a trade center, maybe a lot of different dyes come in, and there's a new color of military uniform that everyone gets. Like, everyone has military clothes because they all have served or are serving in the military, and so they decorate the statue this time of year to just as part of this holiday. Or it's incorporated because the militocracy might have come afterwards, but the statue's decorated simply because this dwarvish general always had a penchant for changing clothes or colors. Maybe it was try to dupe the enemy or something. Or, I don't know, just every year tried to make do and keep people engaged and interested in a time of oncoming winter and bleakness and seaside storms in this archipelago that it's just otherwise very dreary, right? It could be split personality. They could be just 2 different people who had a relation, or 2 people who were sent by the outsiders in some variety to interact with the dwarves and the gnomes alike, and there was a clash because they actually ended up getting both of them involved in war, which unified them, but also really messed up society from that point forward. So we could throw out these ideas. We have primary traditions. In a case like this, if we're talking wartime and something seaside, this might actually be, we might actually have as a tradition be some sort of fasting. If it's mountainous and coastal, there might not be a lot of farmland. They might have to import a lot. So a primary tradition, actually, instead of fasting, it might just be, let's take the concept of you can't eat meat except fish. Well, fish is probably a big part of the diet because of the coastal area and the fact that if, depending on how close to a polar region they are, vitamin D deficiency is probably pretty big. Unless, I don't know, dwarves have developed a gland, because, they might not need a lot of sunlight. But maybe the dwarves do. So in this case, the primary tradition could be no seafood allowed. Which could also be something that plays into the natural cycle of spawning. Right? There are seafood cycles. There are seasons where you can harvest lobsters or types of fish or shellfish or something. And so a tradition here could be no seafood allowed. Must eat imports like bread. And let's see, if this is wartime, we have societies of gnomes and dwarves who might live a lot underground. It could even be something like, so there are dusk to dawn fastings. Why don't we can flip that around as well and go no walking outside from dawn until dusk, to remember the times when people were found and killed in the light. In fact, if this is something that might be even found towards the fall equinox, I mean, whether or not it happened, if this is more historical than a natural observance, then, what can you do? This could even be a celebration of the growing dark. Right? We want the cover that the dark provides, because our enemies could have been using light magic, could have been using like having radiance and other such things. So the enemies could always be seen. And so that was your time to go out and fight. But if you were out, you might miss that aura, or like, they would be walking amongst us and it's difficult to tell. And so in this case, it might favor the darkness. Celebrate the oncoming dark days. Could be a volunteer army who showed up at a critical battle by force marching without food or rest and turned the tide, so people don't eat from dawn to dusk, to honor that march. But there's a big feast after nightfall. I like the idea there's two overlapping holidays, one early religious festival, and the other a celebration of historical events that happened around the time. Yeah, like the Christmas Revolution. Or, if that one, there's like that famous soccer game in World War II, I believe, where, the Axis and Allies forces on that Christmas day crawled out of their trenches and played a game of soccer or football, depending on where you're from. So, like, football, not hand egg. And so on that day, there was a battle, but it was a sports battle between both sides. And then, of course, Christmas Day had passed, and humans will be humans.